It's the first of the month, and that can only mean one thing. It is the Consortium of Diecast Artists group build. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go away. Hey gang, it is Paul from Fat Guy Productions coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And today is the first, and that can only mean a video from all of the members of the Consortium of Diecast Artists. The theme for this month is the 50s. Let's get right to it. Okay, so for July, the International Consortium of Diecast Artists is bringing you the 50s. Myself at Fat Guy Productions, Hodges, Hotwheels and Diecast, Matchbox Garage, Nick's Toy Garage, Tony's Diecast Restos, and We Little Cars are all restoring a car from the 50s for your viewing pleasure. It should be a lot of fun. And here is my entry. The classic 57 T-Bird from Hot Wheels. As you can see, this one's pretty beat up. The paint's crummy. It's missing its hood. I can't really tell what's going on with the windshield. We'll have to get it off and take a look at it. But overall, this is a really rotten car. And we're going to work on it and see what we can do for my entry for this month. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. Now you see here I do have another body and base with a hood, and the problem here is when I took this car apart I ruined the post. This was pre-shielded drilling days. So I'm going to have some decisions to make, but either way let's go ahead and get the car apart and we'll figure out what's going to be the best way to move forward. So I'm going to start by taking the mushrooms off the rivets using my shielded drilling technique. This is tried and true for me, it never fails. And it can even help me repair some of the posts. And you're going to get to actually see a little bit of that later on today. So I don't want to give it all away, but let's just keep moving forward. Once we get the mushroom off, we can take a little pokey here and stick it inside between the base and the body and gently pry it until you get that satisfying click as the two pieces come apart. Alright, so the base is off. Let's take a look at this interior. It's just held in over the post. And it looks all right. It's fine. The posts are perfect, of course, from the shielded drilling, so that's not an issue. And here's the windshield. As you can see, it sort of looks like a rotten old toenail. When you clip your toes and you get that nasty kind of toenail off your big toe. That's sort of what it looks like. So I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be using that. All right. Well, anyhow, let's get on with it. Let's go ahead and bloop. Drop the body into the warm liquid goo phase and let the paint removal begin. And yeah, I still love watching it, and look at all those layers of paint in there. Okay, after about 15-20 minutes of just sitting in the jar, I can go ahead and pull it out. Now watch how cool this is. Okay, I've pulled it out, and just now I'm slightly tapping this. Are you looking at this? As I just slightly tap this on the side of the jar, the paint is just slurping off the car. Isn't that fantastic? You gotta admit, that's one of the coolest things you've ever seen. I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. That's almost as good as watching it bubble up and eat the paint away, man. It just kind of, it was beautiful. What a beautiful thing. That just made my whole day. Anyhow, clearly the paint is ready to give this car up. So we'll take it out of the warm liquid goo. We'll hit it with the brush just a little bit to get some of the detail areas and the harder to reach spots before taking it to the sink and washing and scrubbing it under some fresh water to get rid of all the nasty stripper. Okay, so as I showed you earlier, I do have two bodies and two bases, and I'm really still not sure what's going to be the easiest way to proceed, because one is missing a hood, the other has a blown out front post. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Anyhow, I'm going to take everything down to the garage for a little electro-polishing, as you can see here, and then some zinc plating, just to give myself a really good platform to work off of. At that point, I'll probably make the command decision on how to move forward, but right now I really am just still scratching my head. A lot of times the electro-polishing is really all you need, but I have taken the stance that as long as I'm down here and as long as I'm doing this, why not go ahead and throw a little bit of extra zinc on top of the car just to kind of homogenize the base before I put my paint down. One time I thought the car was fine, and I took it and I painted it, and I immediately got toning, because once I had polished the car up, I couldn't tell the difference between the polished Zamac and the polished zinc, and boy, the paint sure knew the difference. So it's just a little bit of a safety net for me, and so I always go ahead and hit it up with the zinc plating process. If it's really bad, I'll do it for a long time, or maybe do it twice through the process. But otherwise, I'll just give it a quick pass through. All right, so here's the car that had the bad posts. And you see they're actually bad in the front and the back. The back's not so bad and I can save it, but look at that front. Almost half of it's gone all the way. So I have decided that I hate doing hood replacements, and so I'm going to try and fix this post. The car with the hood will be the fallback position. Now, if you watched my ambulance to hearse conversion on the Mega Build, I showed you how I did this, but we're going to do it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a piece of brass tubing that will fit over the post. Even if it's tight, I can heat it with a torch and tap it down with a hammer. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut it to size and slide it down over the blown out post. Now, the idea here is this is going to add lateral support to the repair and keep it from blowing out when I start putting a screw in it. So I've got the post surrounded by the brass tube, and now I'm going ahead and I'm filling it with baking soda. And I drop a little bit in, I'm kind of packing it down in there, and I'm filling this up as best I can, and trying to get it all packed in there. Here I'm going to use the little tips of a pair of needle nose pliers to kind of continue to pack that down in there. I want a nice dense fill in there. So what I'm going to have essentially is I'm going to have the old baking soda and super glue trick inside and surrounded by this brass tubing. And between all of that, you'd be surprised how good it holds. Okay, so I've got some thin CA. I like the thin so it will run and flow and get everywhere. I don't want it to just pile up on the top. I want to have a solid repair inside the brass tube. So we just a little bit down around the base first, kind of seal it all up. Trick is here, be careful. This stuff is so thin, it runs everywhere. So really be careful with what you're doing. All right, and now we're going to put a little drop at the top of the post and let it go right through that baking soda and form a rock hard filling. So basically, we've got this solid brass tube around the post, and then inside of that is the remains of the post and the rock hard filling of the CA and the baking soda. And now all it is a matter of getting this filed down to size, making sure everything fits. Sometimes you might have to notch it or something. This is really important. A lot of test fitting goes on here to make sure, because like when I put this together the first time, it was standing way too proud and it never would have screwed together right. So I ended up having to go back a couple times to file that post down. So after I'm happy with the way everything fits, and I've left this to dry as long as I feel it needed to, I can now use the base and my shielded drilling technique to drill this post out the way I would any other post. right now, all I'm trying to do is just get a little concave dent into the post, and then I'll go ahead and drill down into the post to prepare to receive the button-headed screw. Now, you'd actually be surprised how strong this is and how resilient it is and how well it will take the screw. But I would still tell you that, first of all, I would make sure my hole is drilled deep enough. Second of all, this is one time I insist that the post be tapped out because it's going to put a lot less stress on the repair. So make sure you tap it out. And then once you do screw it together, it's okay to tighten it. But, you know, you want to have just a tender little touch to it. Okay, so we've had success with the body that had the hood still on it. We were able to repair that post and get screws into both sides. Everything is looking great. I'm really happy with it. So we can go ahead and paint this sucker. So what better color than aqua? For a 57 bird, really? Seriously? Aqua seems like the perfect color. And so I'm using some Brightvision aqua and a little bit of their hardener. And I'm going to lay it down the way I always do, using a couple first attack coat and a couple medium coats. And then I will lay it down with nice wet coats until I get the depth of the color that I want. So, you know, make sure you have good lighting. Make sure you have a light touch on your airbrush. And go for it. Now, it's funny because in these videos, sometimes, you know, it might make us look like supermen of the diecast restoration world. I'm going to let you in on a secret. I repainted this car 3 times, okay? The first time I dropped it, and the second time I hit it with a tool and put a mark in it, and none of which I could abide. So, yeah, I ended up painting this car 3 times. So when you see these videos and you think, wow, I wish I could do it the way those guys do it, well, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes things don't go out the way it looks in the videos, and the magic of editing can really make anything look fantastic. So just, you know, if you run into a mistake or you have a problem or whatever, don't get discouraged. Just kind of shove it aside and forge ahead. Come up with a plan, fix it, and get it done. It's actually part of the experience, not something that you have to deal with because of the experience. So don't lament it. Don't get all your knickers in a twist. Just shove it aside and forge ahead. All right, like I showed you, the windshield on this thing, the one that came with the car, was absolutely hideous and gross. It looked sort of like a nasty old toenail clipping. You know, it's just, I think it's all there, and I could probably polish it up, and I'm going to save this in my jar of toenails, but, you know, I'm going to actually use a replacement window for this build, and so, as always, I'm going to take it, and it's going to take a pass through the gauzy, and we're going to wick off the excess, then we're going to go ahead and set it down and cover it, and let it dry completely. And this is going to give us a beautiful crystal clear windshield. So what is Gauzy? Gauzy is a product made by AK Interactive, and it's mainly used by model makers for doing their glass. So what you're seeing me do here is exactly what it is made for. But if you don't have Gauzy, you can run down to Walmart and get yourself a bottle of Pledge Floor Care. It works fantastic and gives you crystal clear windows. I just think that the Gauzy is a little bit better, okay, in my opinion. But we really are splitting hairs here. So, you know, if you need to use Pledge, use Pledge. More and more on my restorations, or I should call them customs at this point, I'm doing interior detailing, and so this car is not going to be any different. And I have found that the bottles of Leho paint work wonders on painting these little plastic interior parts. Really like using them here. So I had 2 interiors from the 2 different cars. One was sort of like a dark brown, one was sort of this cream color. And I thought against the aqua, the cream color looked really nice. And so all I'm going to do is going to paint in black the center console and the dashboard and stuff, and the steering wheel, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw in some control knobs and gauges and stuff, a little bit of detail to make this thing really sing. And it should look amazing against the aqua of the body. So here I'm using a flat paint, but even still, the trick to brush painting is to have your paint flowable. So if you're using like an acrylic, you want to cut it down with a little bit of water and make it nice and thin so it will flow out, spread out, and paint down really nicely. Alright, if you're using an enamel, you're going to want to thin it down with a little bit of enamel thinner. The bottom line is your paint needs to flow out and smooth out, okay? And that way you can brush paint all day long and it'll come out great. Alright, after the black was put down and is dry, I've pumped out a little bit of Moltow in a cup, and I'm just using a toothpick and just kind of dotting it in there to simulate like knobs and gauges and things like that. And I think that looks pretty awesome. It's going to look fantastic inside the finished product. Okay, we can go ahead and put that aside to dry and turn our attention to the base. It got the same treatment as the body did. It went through the electropolisher and the electroplater, got a little bit of zinc and some 4.0 steel wool. And this only had one wheel on it, but I still, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Why not leave the wheel on there, okay? I'm not reusing it, so leave it on there to help protect the hub, even though these hubs are, pretty worn. I don't want to make the situation any worse. So leave it on. Once you've got everything polished and shined and ready to go, then we can cut it off. Now that I'm at that point, I can go ahead and pre-align the axles. It's just a little bit easier without the wheels on there. So I'll take my alignment tool and I'll go through without the wheels, and it'll just kind of align the axles using the hubs as a guide and try and get everything as straight as possible before putting the wheels on. And then I can just tweak it after the wheels are on. Makes it a lot easier as far as I'm concerned. With the axles as close to straight as possible, I can go ahead and put the tool behind the hub on the axle, and then I can go ahead and press the wheels on. By putting the tool on the axle behind the hub, it's going to help me space the wheels out equally all the way around the car and just be a little insurance that I don't damage anything while I'm doing this. Now again, Brightvision makes every kind of wheel you could ever imagine. I do have some of the painted silver wheels. I really just don't like them, and I don't really care what is supposed to be on the car. Hong Kong, American, whatever. I don't care. I like the chrome wheels. That's what I use. Do what you like. Don't worry about everybody else's opinion. Make the car the way you want it to be. All right, we're in the home stretch. Finally, this car was a little bit more challenging than I thought it would be up front. I really thought I was taking the chump way out with this Consortium build. But trust me, this thing gave me plenty of challenges. Alright, so the windshield just kind of has two little pins, and it kind of connects to the interior, and then it's all locked into place when you put it into the car. Okay, so now we can go ahead and just drop the interior and windshield into the car all in one piece. And it just plops to the back. It's got a little piece that goes over the post, and then it just drops in there nice and easy peasy. Somehow putting the base on is always sort of like the moment of truth to make sure that everything fits together right, and to make sure the screws are deep enough and are going to hold the body snug, and that everything is going to work out the way you envisioned it. So we get it put in there, and yeah, I'm touching my paint, so I've got one gloved hand, one gloved not hand. I don't want to be touching the paint here at all, but sometimes you have to, and having two gloves is kind of makes it a little too slippery and too hard to do this stuff. So I'd rather wear one glove and cut the amount of times I touch the body in half than wear no gloves or wear two gloves and shoot the car across the room, because it was like trying to pick up a wet bar of soap. So one glove it is, Michael Jackson trick, and just try and use the other hand as little as possible. All right, everything fits together. And now, stupid me, I first tried to put this screw. There's a little hole up by the front wheels, and that's where normally the post would be. That's not where the post is on this. And I was trying to put the screw into that hole, and like a total idiot. I finally figured it out, and here I am putting it into the correct hole with the repaired post, and you see how nice that worked. It just worked like a dream. It's nice and snug. The car is already perfectly held together. Couldn't be happier. Love being able to repair a post. All right, one last screw in the back just to make sure everything is nice and tight. And then we can get to some detail work and call this thing a day. Okay, so just a little bit of detail work on the outside of the car. And she's done, and here it is. And I think it came out amazing. I think the color is perfect for this era of car. And I really hope you love the car and loved the video. Okay, so when I started this project, I thought to myself, I'm kind of mailing it in, okay? You know, these guys are good, okay? And I thought, my car is just a simple restoration, but really, it ended up being quite a challenge to make this come out to look this way. And I think it came out amazing. I'm really, really pleased with it. And I don't feel like I mailed it in anymore. Alright, so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, click the bell to be notified anytime I release a new video, and I can't begin to tell you how important that is to me. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I love to talk with you guys. So, that's it for today. I'm going to get out of here. This is Paul from Fat Guy Productions, wishing you a great kind of retroactive 50-ish kind of day, and until next time, be good.